Massive crash in the final of this wet stage. Could Johnny Milan secure the green jersey? Wout van Aert in a chasse patate. This was a typical week 3 transition stage from Boulogne to Valence. I didn't watch it, so you tell me what happened. I mean, more fool you. I tell you what happened when I'm just seeing this for the first time. Nah, it's not entirely true. I did watch the finish in the break formation. I took advantage of a siesta today. There's been far too much going on in this Tour de France in the middle of stages. And in break formation, we saw two teams controlling. Movistar, of course, wanted to get in the breakaway with EF, Total, and Ineos. But you see two teams with sprinters, Quick-Step and Little Trek. That's for Tim Merlier, the European champion, and Johnny Milan in the green jersey, respectively. Eventually, a breakaway does go that they're happy with. You got to let some sort of break go, and it's FDJ with Pacher, Albanese for EF, Jonas Abrahamsen, the truck for Ineos, and Mathieu Bergedeux for Total Energies. Thibaut Naes and Max Schachmann get on the front, controlling it. At the intermediate sprint, Milan and Bini kind of do the minimum required to take the points, and good points on offer too, 15 for them. But the first climb of the day, 97 Ks, this is a nothing climb. Not 3 Ks, 6%. Normally nothing happens, but Ineos light it up. They're not on the break. They think, why not? Let's go for it. Let's try to get something out of this stage. And Skin Quimmins is all over it. He's marking it in the American Natty Champs jersey, and then he sets a pace. But unfortunately for him, Ineos keep going. Ivan Romeo will not be denied. And while Simmons is more than strong enough to control all this himself, he's controlling Van Aert, Aski, doesn't matter, Asgren. His sprinters dropped. And not just like on a bit of a gap at the top. Milan was on 50 seconds to the front of the peloton and not entirely wrapped around with teammates. Demar, Groenewegen, a lot of the sprinters would drop. Merlier, so at least for Milan, he had other teams that were going to help. So Quick-Step Van Wilder is saying Var is Merlier, he's waiting. So it's not just one team. If you're the worst climbing sprinter and you get dropped and none of the other sprinters get dropped on stages, then you have big problems. So that wasn't the case. Fortunately for them, it took a while for Tudor. You see 3 different teams, Schmidt, Haller, and Verstringer, all on the radio. 3 teams asking what to do, and they react a bit too late. Verstringer saying, get to the front, let's smash it. And then Trek were just in time, drop back Schoens, Sturven, and Simmons. But actually, if Wanty, Tudor, and Alperson, and Picnic as well, because they got Lund Andresen or maybe Bittner here too, and Israel Premier Tech, if they'd all got to the front quicker, it took a while for them to get to the front, it could have caused problems for Milan, because it was a decent gap. Probably they're always coming back, and they still got the breakaway up front. Let's not forget, they're on 40 seconds. That goes back out to 1:15. Quick-Step pacing again. So we're waiting for the last climb. It's not as difficult as the first one, but still, are the other teams, the same teams that jumped before, Movistar, are they going to try and jump? It's Wout van Aert. No one reacts. Israel let him go. Quinn Simmons is like, he's probably going to be in a chasse patate. If someone else jumps, I'll mark them. No one else does, and Van Aert gets to about 25 seconds at the top of the climb, but on the descent, he ends up in a chasse patate. So there was inclement weather coming, maybe thinking if I get across to this break and it's a 5 of us with Abrahamsen, we can stay away because the sprinters' teams are weakening, but that wasn't the case. He got caught by the peloton, and Abrahamsen was absolutely trucking. He's not a man easy to catch on the flat. Simmons is like, no one's getting away from me today. I'm locking this entire stage down. And, I mean, Simmons has been unbelievably good this Tour de France. Been good in the Tour de France for 2, 3, 4. This is 4th Tour de France, right? Because in 2022, remember, he was in the Tour breakaway that Fuglsang dropped out of with Wout van Aert. So they got history in breakaways and these sort of hard stages together. But coming into the sprint, wet roads, that makes the GC teams nervous. So we see Pogacar with Sivakov and Wellens move to the front. Affini with Vingegaard. Abrahamsen attacks out of the breakaway. He was the strongest in that break and leaves them behind. Maybe sometimes when the break gets caught, the remnants of it, but not the last guy, the sprinter teams maybe think there's no one left up the road, but Durbridge was on the front smashing it. Mez gets there with Groenewegen. They're trying to get a good result for him. A lot of these sprinters have had few opportunities. They've had to drag themselves around very hard, hilly and mountainous stages to get to this stage, and even the Champs-Élysées has been taken away from them. So this is maybe the last sprint opportunity for these teams. But Mezgec loses Groenewegen. That's been a familiar sight. Groenewegen losing his lead-outs wheel in previous years. Milan, though. Look at Milan. He's deep. He's got no teammate with him. He's moving himself up, or he has to, because he's like, with 2Ks to go, he does take the roundabouts pretty well. Here he makes his move. Here he saves his stage. Here he maybe saves his green jersey. Tim Merlier was trying to track him the whole way, track him through, and use Milan as his lead out. Good strategy, because Milan jumps early. Milan slots in. He's found Sturven. And once he finds Sturven, he solves everything. He brings him up into good position. Basically, every rider in the top 6-7 positions right now get a good result in this sprint, and Sturven moves Milan up just in time with 1,400 meters to go. These bends coming up and the wet conditions, well, actually, there's no bend. The Covidis rider, he comes in on probably Pavel Bittner and squeezes him, and Bittner gets squeezed between him and the Groupama FDJ rider. They both go down. A huge crash that basically cuts everybody off at like P10. Milan just makes it in front just after he'd moved up in time by Sturven. And look who's missed it. Tim Merlier, whilst he does stay up on the bike, he is unable where he's caught behind this crash. None of the GC contenders apart from Carlos Rodriguez, I think, crashed. Vingegaard and Pogacar were okay. I think it's Brent Van Moor does a fantastic job for Lotto Destiny. Arnaud Delis in good shape. He's got the wheel of Johnny Milan. Fedorov comes up. He brings up Davide Ballerini. Jordi Meyer slots onto his wheel. We've got Clement Rousseau and Penaway. I think Penaway's the last man behind Dainese. Fedorov tries to, I don't like it when they do that. He rides back into Delis, which is very dangerous. He should have got sanctioned for that. And Milan launches at 250. It's a tailwind sprint, wet conditions, right-hand bend. If you launch first, you got a big advantage. And at 200, and Jordi Meus is going to have sleepless nights about this. You could see his disappointment in the interview afterwards. At 200, Meus was still waiting. That's way too late in the tailwind sprint with a bend and wet conditions. Milan launches first. You see Meus coming back at him. You'll see it in the overhead better. Delis also had a good shot at this. So Delis, you might be thinking, how did he nearly chop himself? Well, he thinks Milan is going right, and Milan is going right. He's going to try to go across Ballerini and squeeze him, but then he comes back left a bit for a couple of pedal strokes. Delis was overlapping. He then has to check his sprint. Milan actually then does go right, where Delis thought he was going, waving across Meus and Ballerini, but that recheck back left really cost Delis, him and Meus, I think they'll be thinking we had a chance to win today. But yeah, GC guys were fine, most of them. Milan wins out of Meus, Andreessen, Delis, Ballerini, Dainese, Penaway, Fedorov, Russo, and Sturven. Milan has albeit secured the green jersey unless something crazy happens with Pogacar. Here's what he had to say after the race.
They delivered me in the best position. I was really focused for it. We was really looking forward. And it's a big achievement for all of us.
In terms of GC, no changes, all on the same time. Big stage tomorrow, 5,500 meters elevation game. We've got Col de la Loze, we've got the Madeleine, the Glandon, 3 massive HC climbs back-to-back in a 170k stage. It's the last chance, maybe for Vingegaard. Well, last of 2 chances to really take back big time, which as you can see, he has to do. Hope you enjoy the recap, and I'll see you at the stage tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.